Well, welcome back, everyone, to the Finder Slippers Resell podcast. I am Wes, and I'm joined along with my cohorts, Johnny and Stewart. Gentlemen, how y'all doing today?
What is up, guys?
Hey, long time no see.
It has been a few days. I think we left off episode 7 a long time ago. This is episode 8. We've been, I guess, put away for the winter, and now we're back.
Yeah, been in hibernation. So.
Yeah, I was going to say, Wes hibernates for the winter.
Yeah. Well, you have to decide, the jobs that you've got to do and the time that you have to put into it. So I, did a lot of basketball refereeing from November till just a couple of weeks ago. So I'm looking forward to get back into our Resell podcast. So how you guys been? Tell us what you've been doing.
Go ahead, Johnny.
The same.
Oh, reffing? I haven't seen you on any course though, Johnny. Where have you been?
Yeah, well, I've been out there. I got kicked out. I started gambling on them. So
Well, that is a problem. You don't want to do that and ref.
We games. just got online sports betting a couple weeks ago in North Carolina. So it's been my new vice is just betting on everything. But no, man, we're just same old, just listing and selling and shopping and listing and selling and shopping. So everything's good. Frizz is good. She's busy. Just living the dream, man.
Now, I have noticed that you all have been putting a lot of videos up, I guess, shorts. She does do a lot of those things with things she finds. She does a really good job of that. So what's your problem?
Yeah, right. I'll tell you, I would say over, maybe the last 6 months or maybe a little further, she has put so much time into this craft that that girl is freaking awesome at this. And I mean, we're going to have our best eBay month, almost our best Posh month, our best Macari month, almost our best Depop month, all this. And it's from stuff she's doing. So, I am just hanging on. I'm just riding the coattails.
Yeah, that's what I was getting ready to say. You're just you're along for the ride, riding the coattails, aren't you?
I told her that I was, the beauty and she was the brains.
Well, it's like my wife. She's been carrying it all during the winter as I have kind of put my store and everything at a lower level for the winter months, obviously, but she's been carrying the load quite a bit. Stewart, what about you?
Oh, just kind of the same thing as Johnny, and just been listing and selling. And I was telling Johnny before we started, I just had one of my best 7-day spans ever as far as just total sales. It was, I think 49 or 50 sales in the last 7 days. And, I know it sounds obvious that, you got a list to sell, but I've really been putting a concerted effort on getting more listed. And that's definitely translated directly into more sales. I've been taking a ton of stuff to the post office every day, so they love me there.
Yeah, here he comes again.
Hey, I just tell them that, I'm keeping them employed.
Well, that is a true statement. I have learned over this basketball season, what's taught me is if you don't work at this craft, you will fail quickly. And like I said, wife kept it going, but I really need to start bumping up my game again, which I have in the last 2 weeks. We've really started hitting it pretty hard. But if you don't work at it and you don't grind at it daily, you're not going to survive at this. And that's what I have noticed for sure these last several months.
The big challenge is just, figuring out how to divvy your time up between the sourcing, the listing, and I guess the packaging. You don't figure that out. You have to do that as you sell things, but that's kind of the three prongs of reselling. Or you got to find it, then you got to list it, and then you got to sell it and get it packaged up.
Well, don't forget to refind it too, because once you buy it and you put it away, you're like, where did I put that thing? Because I know you all lost things along the way. You're like, I have no idea where that is. That ended up being one of my jobs when I got home from basketball games late. Hey, I can't find this, or I need you to get that container down for me. That's really about all I was really good for. these last several months.
That was one of the best things Amy ever did for me, was help me come up with a great inventory system, as far as managing things that you have listed. Because back in the day when I used to travel a lot before I became a full-time reseller, invariably when I was gone is when we would sell the most stuff. So Amy would call me, where's this little knickknack? And I'd be, it's, in the left corner underneath this and that. And, and she goes, we got to do something about this. So, now everything's cataloged with inventory numbers and bin numbers, and just makes life a whole lot easier to deal with when you do sell things.
Yeah,
go ahead, Johnny.
I custom skewed our shoes. We used to just have shoes on shelves. We use the the USPS priority boxes for the shoe boxes, and we just stacked them 3 high and 4 across and just threw shoes in them. But every time a pair of shoes would sell, we would literally have to go like this. So, I went through and was like A1, A2, A3, B1, 2, 3, all the way through. And we've saved probably hours looking for shoes now when they sell, because we can just go to, C5 or whatever, and there they are.
Isn't it interesting, though, how your systems have changed over your whole reselling life? From where you started until where you're at right now, it's just a constant. That for me is the biggest change that I've incurred as far as being in the resale business. Because I get very frustrated if I can't find something. Or have you ever done this? You felt like you've sold it, or you have sold it already and you forgot, or it didn't come off. You ever done that one?
That's what we started using Vendoo a couple months ago, because we were double selling stuff left and right.
Talk a little bit more about Vendoo. That's a good talking point.
Yeah. So if you're not familiar, if you're watching this and you're not familiar, it's a cross-listing platform. So you can, take your listings and you can put them on eBay, Poshmark, Etsy, Depop. What's the other one? Mercari, Depop, Poshmark. Yeah, all of them. And then I think they do Vestiaire now too. But one of the nice things about them, and not sponsored, but they have an auto detection. So if it sells on eBay, it'll, as long as you keep it up, that's the only trick to it. You have to keep Vendoo running on a computer at all times. So we actually had to go out and buy a computer. So we're quite invested in this. But it will auto delist from the other platforms. So that way, if it sells on eBay, it comes down off Poshmark. So you don't sell it on Poshmark 6 weeks later or months later or days later. And it's saved us quite a bit. There's cons to it. It's not all perfect, but I don't know what we pay, $50-$60 a month, but we've made that money back by cross-listing.
Yeah, and I would be interested, Johnny, and maybe Wes, we do a whole show just on cross-posting, because I use List Perfectly, and I mean, I would highly recommend anybody who really wants to up their reselling game to cross-post, whether you use Vendoo, List Perfectly, or any number of other tools that are out there. I mean, you'll see an exponential increase in your sales by doing that. And you can cross post without a tool, but as Johnny mentioned, it gets really hard to manually manage that process. And so yeah, it would be interesting, because I don't know a lot about Vendoo. I mean, I know it, on the surface, it's more or less the same as List Perfectly. I've been using List Perfectly for 4 or 5 years though, so I'm pretty invested in that one. But it might be helpful for the people watching who are thinking about getting into it to, bring up some of the pros and cons, because I'll be the first to say, I mean, List Perfectly is not perfect either. I think a lot of people, when they get these cross-posting tools, they expect that they are going to be perfect. But the problem that the cross-posting companies have is that the marketplaces are moving targets. As soon as they change their listing flow, it's going to break. And as a user of those tools, I think you have to have a flexible mentality too, that when something doesn't work one day, you've just got to power through and just, adjust your workflow to maybe you got to manually do something until the cross-posting company fixes that flow. But I mean, it's a big challenge. Being a programmer myself, I can identify with the pain it causes when something changes that's out of your control and you've got to go back and address it. But yeah, that would be an interesting topic to do one day, though.
I think it would be. And I don't have either one of those. I've actually talked to Doug at List Perfectly. I had a podcast with him, and he kind of ran through several of those things. One of them, I think that I'd ask him, does it take too much time, too much work on either one of those? I mean, really, if you're just a person that really doesn't have, a big listing, whatever, should you really dive in and pay that monthly fee?
I mean, definitely, if you've only got, 30 things listed at any given time, it might be hard to justify that cost. I mean, List Perfectly is pretty similar in price. I mean, I have the business plan, which is currently the highest plan. I think it's $69 a month, but then List Perfectly's got a really good referral program too that, you can get money back each month for people using a referral code. I'm sure Vendoo has the same thing. But yeah, the amount of time you'll save, both on the front end listing things, and I assume Vendoo has this as well. List Perfectly has a centralized catalog, so you list everything to that first. So it gives you a central repository for all your stuff. Then you just pick and choose which marketplaces you want to push it out to. And then very similar, when something sells, as long as you have it running, it runs as an extension on It's a Google extension basically. And, it'll automatically delist things. Once again, I mean, I still will spot check things when they sell just to make sure, but it's got a pretty good log that as well that'll tell you, hey, the delist failed on this platform, but at least it decreases the chance of you double selling stuff. And I will say that's one of the biggest concerns I had when I started cross posting was just, hey, I'm going to sell this thing on, 5 different platforms and have to cancel orders. I think in the 4 years I've been using List Perfectly, I think there's been 2 times that I've double sold something. And both those were really things that sold within 30 minutes of listing them. And they happened to, and one of those times it sold to the same person on 2 platforms. They were obviously looking for that particular item. So it's really not as big an issue as you think it would be. And, I kind of never cancel on eBay. If I sell it on eBay and somewhere else, I'm going to, ship it on eBay and cancel the other sale. But it's so far, it's not been a huge issue. And, however many thousands of items I've sold in that 3 or 4 years. So.
Now, does both of these platforms analyze your sales?
Yeah.
Yeah,
they do.
They have analytics built in. I mean, you can actually use List Perfectly. I mean, it would be fairly rudimentary, but I know there are people who use it as their complete inventory tracking system because it can keep track of cost of goods sold and quantities on hand and, where it's sold, and you can put fees and taxes and shipping in. And so you can spit out a report. I mean, I have my boost to consider too. And, so there's so many places I sell that I don't track and List Perfectly. I have a separate spreadsheet, but if I wanted to, I could have List Perfectly calculate a lot of that. And I think Vendoo does the same thing.
Yeah, it's the same. And what's worked for us is we actually post everything to eBay first still, because we can just do it on our phones and it just makes it a little easier. And we use the AI descriptions on eBay and stuff like that. And then we just import those listings to Vendoo and then cross list from there. There still is again, like Wes said, it's not perfect. There's definitely flaws to it. Sometimes Mercari will be down or, eBay's down and you can't, but all in all, I mean, the $60-$70 a month, whatever it is, I mean, those other platforms, those sales have made up for it. We've sold more. We've been doing it since the second week of January, and we've had more Depop sales since January, from January to now, than we had the 18, 19 months we were selling on Depop previously combined.
Well, it obviously gets your stuff out in front of more people. Like Stewart, you were talking about that same guy bought from 2 different platforms for you. I mean, the more people that have more eyes on your stuff, your sales are obviously gonna rise. But I think the thing that for me that's most notable, it kind of forces you to try different platforms that you may or may not have tried before.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I started selling on Depop for the same reason. I mean, List Perfectly supported it, and let's see, I do eBay, Etsy, Poshmark, Mercari, Depop, and Facebook Marketplace are the 6 platforms I do. Actually also cross-post to the Whatnot Marketplace and the Knickknacks Marketplace, which Knickknacks, if you're not familiar with, it's the Crazy Lamp Ladies Marketplace that she started on District. So List Perfectly will let you like manually track external ones that they don't directly support, but I've got a workflow where the incremental time to post to those two sites is not very much. And I'm sure Johnny's experienced the same thing. The good thing is once you create that listing first, whether it's in eBay like Johnny does or in the List Perfectly catalog like I do, the incremental time to post to those other platforms is pretty small. I mean, like literally some of them like Depop, it almost fills in everything and it's just, almost just clicking submit. So, you can, for an extra 30 seconds, you can get it on another platform. So,
yeah. I think the big thing with it is really you have to decide whether or not you want to be on 4 or 5 different platforms. If you're just kind of mom and pop doing it as a side hustle, like, do you want to worry about the Mercari rules, the Depop rules, the Poshmark? So I think from that standpoint, it can be a lot and can be a little bit overwhelming. It's cool to have sales everywhere, but like Mercari labels ship different from Depop, or, print different than Depop labels print, then Poshmark labels print. So it can be a lot, but it's been worth it for us for sure.
Now, Stewart, I think Doug, I'm trying to remember back, he was talking about one of their new features as a barcode scanner.
Well, what they have is the ability to generate barcodes. I don't use this because, it just doesn't really fit into my workflow of how I store inventory. But you can generate barcodes for your SKUs so that you can, you can scan. You could like have an iPad or something, and you could scan like the SKU on your inventory label, and then it would bring up everything that's in that bin. There's some other things you can do with it, but I probably can't speak to the true power of everything you can do since I don't use it. But that's more or less, I think that's the barcodes he was talking about. It's barcodes related to your SKU numbers where you're storing stuff.
And he was talking about a plan too, if I remember correctly. It was like a Pro Plus plan or something like that. Is that what you have? You said you have.
Yeah, I've got the Pro Plus right now, and it has things like kind of like eBay has the AI description generator. It's got an AI description generator in its catalog. It's got the ability to generate those barcode scans. You get background removal. It basically uses the photo room background removal. It's integrated into List Perfectly. It's got kind of like your Google Lens. It has like a Google Lens feature built into it where you can, click on an image and it'll go out and find image matches, things like that. So, to be honest, I'm mainly concerned with, does it get my items out to the platforms, and then does it delist them when they sell? And that's the main thing that I'm concerned with. And, and I do think with any of these cross-listing programs, I don't even remember. I don't know any of the other names besides Vendoo or List Perfectly. I think there might be one called Flip or something, and then there's a couple of others. But I do think it's kind of a grass is always greener kind of thing. Once you start using one, you see the issues that cross-listing software has, but I think they all have a lot of the same issues just because of the nature of what they do. Because it's funny, if you go on the List Perfectly Facebook page, there's a lot of people, I'm not using this anymore. It doesn't work right, blah, blah, blah. But then if you look at the Vendoo page, it's exactly the same thing. So my guess is there's a lot of customers who flip back and forth between the two. But
Stu, you had mentioned that Flip, that was a free cross listing that just switched to $9 a month. We actually used Flip just to share our Posh closet and do all the share, follow, offer that Posh makes you do. But then that switched to $9 a month, so we stopped.
And List Perfectly's actually got in beta right now all the Poshmark sharing stuff. I already used Posher VA for that, and I will say that's another. I know a lot of people don't like to pay for stuff, but my Poshmark sales when I started using that, and I think it's $20 a month maybe, but it shares, it follows, it sends offers to likers. I mean, it pretty much automates everything that you would have to manually do, and I easily pay for that $20 every month since I've started using it.
We've actually started to really watch our Poshmark sales to decide if the $9 made sense. Like, how important is it to follow and share and all that? And we do it manually, but you have to remember to do it manually. Yeah. Where every morning when I sit down at the computer, I used to go to Flip and just go click, click, and it did its thing. So.
Yeah, the biggest thing in Posher VA, I mean, more than the shares and the follows, because I know that's important, but I mean, I sold a fair amount on Poshmark before I was doing that, but it's the automated offers to likers that, that's the one that really, I think, pushes sales. Because probably 80% of my Poshmark sales are based on the offer to likers that I do through Posher VA.
Stewart, you had mentioned the AI thing a minute ago. How do you feel about the AI stuff that's coming in? How do you think it's going to change, or is it going to be helpful?
I don't know. I don't like the AI generated descriptions right now. I mean, they're too flowery, and I tend not to use it very often. Like, one thing I use it for more than the descriptions is, at least in the List Perfectly tool, you can click it and it gives you one box that has the AI description, and then that's based on your title. So you have to write a good title first. Same way eBay works. Mm-hmm. But it also generates 20 keywords for use on Etsy. So a lot of times I'll ignore the description, but I still will take the keywords that it generates, because that sometimes is hard to come up with good keywords. But and then sometime I'll keep part of it and edit it. But I use, like, for things I sell, like books, in China and things like that, I have templates set up in List Perfectly, and they're like, I just have to, it'll have a line for like brand, pattern, country of manufacturer, things like that, and I just have to go in and put the specifics. So in those cases, the templates work better than the AI would. But in general, I don't like the AI descriptions. They don't sound like something that I would write, and I don't know. I just don't like that kind of language, I guess.
What about you, Johnny? Do you use it on that Vendoo?
Yeah, we use, one of the reasons that we use eBay to do our postings and then import from there is because we do use the AI descriptions, but it's more just filler, push a button. I mean, what we used to do is copy and paste our title, and then if there was any flaws or anything like that. So honestly, we just click it for filter, but it's had some cons to it, because we've gotten like, oh, your description said, and we're like, oh, it did. I don't know.
Well, you said this, and I'm like, I did?
Exactly.
I don't understand.
Yeah. So it is, buyer beware a little bit, but just for the ease of things, that's why we use it. But I agree with Stu. It's not probably the best.
Yeah, I don't trust it. I'm a little bit leery, because you do get those things when people send them back to you. You said this in the description. No, I didn't. My AI did, but I didn't,
Yeah.
I'm not very trusting of it, I guess, is the way I look at it. Switching gears over into, now that we're in March, heading into April, where is the sourcing coming from for you all? Where are you gathering stuff from?
I mean, for me, it's kind of continued to be what I was doing before the new year started, and it's mainly, most of it's people calling me, to come look at stuff. I still get usually a call or two a week like that, and I think I've been to 4 houses in the last 3 weeks now, and that's always good because it's kind of like a private estate sale almost, and gotten some really good stuff there. And then kind of a funny sourcing story that happened yesterday. My brother is constantly looking for stuff for me, and I'll either consign it for him or just buy it from him. But he was at a used bookstore in Oak Ridge yesterday, and it's kind of like McKay's, you know how they have the free bin out front where people dump books and stuff. Somebody had dumped a whole box of record albums. I mean,
wow.
And we're talking like really good condition. And usually when people dump those things in the free bin, you know, it's like Johnny Mathis or Don Ho or these, you know, 60s ones that nobody will ever buy. But here I was actually working on them. Doobie Brothers.
Oh, wow.
John Denver.
I got that one.
Eddie Grant, Killer on the Rampage.
Huh.
We're going to rock on down to Electric Avenue. Simon Garfunkel, Jefferson Starship. I mean, so there were 54 albums, I think, in that box. And out of the 54, probably 45 to 50 of them were like classic rock, 80s and 70s, stuff like that. So on those particular ones, I'll put them in my booth in Clinton, most likely. And, you know, we'll just do a 50-50 split of the profits, you know, after I sell them. But, so yeah, check the free bins at your local used bookstore. I've found books that I've sold in those before, but that's the first time. I can't imagine somebody just dumped those in there and they weren't gone by the time my brother got there because he went at lunch. So they'd been.
I would have been elated to see those because I've got my own collection going.
So yeah, that was pretty exciting. But yeah, that's, you know, I mean, I still go to the thrift shop. I haven't been going as much, but I still go usually a time or two a week. That's more just to get out of the house and, you know, the thrill of the hunt kind of thing. But, you know, at least when I'm trying to do it full time, there's no way I can find enough at the thrift shop to maintain that. So I depend on those private sales. And then I'll still buy stuff from some online auctions. But yeah, I would say, you know, the private stuff's the biggest thing. We are getting ready to get in the yard sale season though, Wes. So we ought to go out together one Saturday or Friday or
that's what I was getting ready to say. We need to go out together and maybe film each other and add our content.
Actually, you're about not too far from being out of school. So once summer gets here, we can go on Friday mornings. I know South Knoxville is having a community-wide yard sale that's sponsored by some realty group on April, I think it's 17th. So they're going to supposedly have a lot of participants. It'll be, I guess, kind of like, you know, in the vein of the world's longest yard sale type things. Yeah. It'll all be in South Knoxville. So if you go on Facebook and search for that, I think you can find it. But
do you know what they call it? Just a South Knoxville yard sale or something?
I think so. I'll look while Johnny tells us about his sourcing stuff. I'll look and send it over to you.
Yeah, we're just thrifting. You know, obviously the Goodwill bins, and then we've been doing just really, really well with just good old fashioned thrift stores. I think a lot of people have done some spring cleaning, and we've found it. You know, we've found some good stuff. Garage sales haven't really started yet. We hit a couple of estate sales that we did pretty well on. And Frizzy started to source like on eBay. Actually, she started to source on Depop because a lot of the vintage kids don't necessarily know what they have when it comes to like designer clothes. Not so much the vintage clothes, but actual designer clothes, where she's kind of up paying a little bit, you know, like $20. But she bought a pair of these combat boots for $27 with shipping on Depop. Got them. They sold in 3 days on Poshmark for $147. So she's started to source a little bit more on just, you know, eBay and Poshmark and especially Depop.
That's interesting to source on eBay and then flip it right back around. And
yep.
Because if you know what you're buying and looking for, and you can get the right price, that's a good way to go, I would think.
So her favorite brand right now, her hot brand in women's designer is called the Neen Bing. And she went on to Depop and somebody had a shirt listed as Anime Bing, like a typo. And so she bought it for $20, but sold comps are like 100. So, and she's like, maybe I'll keep it. If not, it'll sell in a week for $100. And, when it's all said and done, I'll end up making $50 off of it. And you just can't beat it. So looking for just underpriced goods, right? Kind of, you're on those sites anyways, right? So
yeah. Are we all looking for those underpriced?
Mm-hmm. So Wes, you got to be just itching to get back out there then, huh, man?
Slowly drip back in here in the last 2 weeks. I've got a lot more listings back up. I kept listing stuff. I mean, because how you pack things away like a squirrel, you think, well, I'll list that. So that was really the only thing I was doing. I was either going back and getting things that I haven't listed. So I did keep listing stuff. But I got home after ball games, like I said, and I was just the get person for my wife. Get that down for me. But yeah, I'm looking forward to upping my game again, so to speak.
So I'm curious because we've talked about this before because Stu, you're full time, so this is your life. But Wes, you and we have full time other jobs. Mm-hmm. So I'm curious. I mean, you were really you've been out of it for 4 or 5 months. Like, did you miss it, or was it kind of nice to not have a demanding side hustle?
Well, I'm that person that I like to have things going on, and I can handle a lot of different things at a lot of different times. If it's something's going to fill the hole if I don't have something going on. So yeah, I would say that I missed it. But and I kept thinking, well, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that. So that is a problem for me. But I just honestly didn't have the time between, like you said, my real job and going and officiating at night, because I was reffing 4 or 5 nights a week, and it wears you down to a nub, and you just can't. Your motivation is gone. You just want to crawl into bed and go to sleep and get up and do it again the next day.
So you mentioned you ref the state tournaments. Is there a selection process for that? I mean, do you get graded throughout the year and they take the best referees to the different levels of the state playoffs?
Well, across our state, there's 12 associations, and so they will put up a list of probably 6 people. Your supervisors will, and they'll put those up for contention to be in the state tournament. And starting with the district tournaments and stuff, they start actually before that. They come and watch a couple of games during the year that you don't know they're there, or they're watching it via the internet, because they can just bring up any game now and watch it. Yeah. And if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, and you're seem to be fairly knowledgeable of what you're calling, then you get that look, and then they really start ramping it up in the district tournament, and they look again, and then they pick. This year we had 3 guys out of our association of about 50 some odd referees that got to go, and I was one of them.
Wow. Well, congratulations on that. Sounds like
I appreciate that. Very fortunate. There's a lot of really good referees that have never had the chance to go. I've been reffing in high school and college for 23 years, and I've got to do the state tournament 5 times. So I feel very fortunate to get that opportunity. I take it very, very seriously. So as the cone started whittling down, I even got more laser focused on what I was doing, and was blessed to get to do the state championship game, which at that point, it's tough, because they're all wanting to win that state championship, and you're just trying to give them the best game possible. Yeah. So very fortunate. I was glad to do that.
What levels of college do you referee?
I ref junior college.
Okay. Now, do you have any designs to ever move more into reffing as a full-time job, or?
No, I'm over the hill, so to speak.
It's a younger man's game.
It's a younger man's game. If I was in my 20s,
I have a special guest.
Hey, Lizzie, how are you doing?
Can you hear?
Yeah, I can.
How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Doing well. Long time no see. Of course, I've been seeing all your videos. We've talked about you here earlier. So.
Oh, yeah.
I told them how I've been carrying the weight and just.
Oh.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, once he gets off here, we'll have a longer chat. So we'll.
Yeah.
John, you need to go out there and check the roofers real quick.
Okay.
Yeah.
See ya.
See ya.
Bye.
But yeah, I enjoy it. I mean, I've been reffing honestly since I was 14 years old in some capacity, whether it was junior pro basketball, but in an official manner for the last 23 years.
Well, God bless you. That's the pressure of that. It's not something I want to do. I know when my son played middle school ball, I would run the clock sometime. Golly, and that was bad enough because you'd get caught up in watching the game. And only one time we were playing Bearden. Tanner went to Cedar Bluff, and we were playing Bearden. And, it's like the end of the game. Of course, I'm into the game, too. And I forgot to start the clock on an inbounds play. And so the Bearden coach is yelling at me. And so, yeah, I don't know if I can handle doing the reffing part. My brother refs West Bearden or one of those.
Right. Well, you could have clapped back at him and said, "Do you mind? I'm trying to watch the game."
Yeah.
No, the thing is, being a former athlete and playing college basketball, it keeps me on the floor.
Yeah.
I'm going to turn 55 and I'm still running up and down the floor with these kids. That's the thing about it. They're perpetually 14 to 18 to 22 years old. And I'm the one that's clicking over every year. It's getting a little harder to get up and down the floor, but
keeps you in shape though. So
keeps you in shape. You get some money, and I love staying around the game. But to be fortunate enough to go and ref a state tournament, I remember before I tipped the ball of this championship game, I was just standing there looking around, going, "This is amazing. Now, this is amazing." I just feel very blessed, So I hope my other fellow referees get the opportunity to experience that as well, because it's fun. It's the icing on the cake for you. What about you, Johnny? Think you can handle reffing?
No. I wouldn't let these kids carry, that 3-step. I'd be like 1-2 travel.
Oh, you don't let them do the LeBron James move?
No, we're not walking.
Dunk it.
We're not walking.
Yeah. So what's your absolute pet peeve as a referee, Wes? The thing that you call that maybe other refs don't call as much? Like, is there any certain violation or?
Probably the carrying the basketball, because you got to keep your hand on top of it. I mean, you can dribble it super high as long as your hand's up here, but kids, they watch the NBA and they want to mimic what they're doing, and it just nope, walk, carry.
Well, I'm sure the challenge. I mean, and I know high school is probably not physical to the level that college is, but you watch these college games now, and the challenge of reffing those things has got to be so tremendous just because of the physicality. And, when do you call a foul and when do you not call a foul? Because you call a foul on every possession where, which you probably could. I mean, the game's going to have no flow at all. So,
well, and that's the thing. It's just like in football. On linemen, you could call a hold every single play.
Yeah.
But you got, in that situation, you got to decide, did it turn the kid? Did it stop their impediment going to the basket or whatever? There is a lot to it. I watched an NCAA game the other night, and that kid, I don't remember what game it was, but he hustled back, and the kid went up, and he was going to dunk it, and the kid blocked the shot. I mean, he made a great play on it, and they call a foul on him, and they ended up losing by 4.
Yeah.
But as a lay person, you could sit there and watch that all day long and go, "How did he miss that?" Well, when you're reffing, you got one shot at it. You don't get a replay. Well, I take that back. They do now because they've got some replays. I don't have that luxury.
Not on that call, you don't.
No, not on that call. Not on that call. But they do have some replays now to look at. But you think about it. You're running down the floor as fast as you can go. You're trying to keep up with them. You're trying to get in position to get that good look, that good angle, and you get one shot. That's all you get to look at it. What are you going to call? And it looks different. Different angles, they're completely different. Like if you're all looking at me and I'm going up like this and you see my arm come across, that looks like a foul. When you look at it this way, though, look.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Boom. Oh, he hit him. So it's just, for me, it's just constant repetition. I refed AAU basketball during the summers just so I could get better.
Yeah.
Because if you can ref AAU, you can ref anything. Because that's a tough thing to do is ref AAU basketball. I think y'all should get into reffing myself.
Well, as you said, that's a young man's game. I'm 57. I think I'll.
Well, you can do other things.
Yeah.
You could ref other things. But they've tried to get me into football, and I don't want to do that. I can't sit here in the living room without calling stuff, though. I mean, I'm serious. I watch these games. I'm like, that's a hold. That's a push. I can't do it. I can't watch anything now. So
I thought maybe you just didn't look good in white pants. So you were like,
well, they don't wear white pants anymore. They wear black.
No, what?
Yep. Football's black. We wear black too. So I'm trying to look taller out there. That's why I stack my hair so high, I asked the lady that one time in an AAU game. I said, ma'am, does my stripes make me look taller or does my hair? And she goes, well, you're already tall enough. I'm 6'6".
Mm-hmm.
But she kind of got off my back. That was the whole purpose of it. But
Yeah.
anyway.
If you ever refed any of my son's AAU games, there's a good chance I yelled at you. So.
Nah. It doesn't bother me.
Stu's that guy.
He is that guy. Well, you don't want to get into reffing with thin skin because it can get brutal. It can get brutal for sure. But anywho,
Stu, it's always the ones that people think are nice. They're always the meanest.
Stu, you asked me a question about officiating. Let me ask you a question about a fan. What really gets underneath your skin as far as officials? Something has to trigger you.
I mean, I think officials who try to show up the players, they seem to make the game about them, with the elaborate charge calls or, which I don't know. I mean, I think there's a fine line there because I guess there is some entertainment value with certain officials, with some of the reactions, but yeah, some of them tend to, just make it about themselves. Like TV Teddy Valentine. So.
Teddy Valentine, yeah. TV Teddy Valentine. Well, I don't do that because I'm trying to conserve as much energy as I can.
Yeah. I just think of, what was it, Leslie Nielsen and the Naked Gun?
Yeah.
But overall, I mean, I was pretty good with refs when I would watch games. Obviously I know it's nothing I'd want to do, so I tried to not be, now sometimes the emotion just overcomes you and you do a little yelling, but overall, I always had a lot of respect for the officials.
Well, I just feel like it's my way of giving back to the game that's been so good to me. I don't have a timetable on how long I'll go. I just think I'll know. I knew when I was playing, I was done. I coached for a while. I knew when I was done. And at some point, I'll know when it's time. I'll feel it probably in my bones.
Literally.
Literally. When I first started getting into high school, I wanted to ref 30 years and try to get to 5 state tournaments my very first year. That was my goal as well. I'm at that state tournament goal this year in year 23. So I've got 7 more years, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, I don't like to put end dates on me. You know what I mean?
We've definitely covered the gamut of topics today.
We have.
Everything from reselling to refereeing. So.
Reselling the referee. That's fun. With you, hopefully we'll we'll get this going again. Keep it up.
Yeah, man, clear your schedule.
Oh, it's cleared now. I just gotta get myself together and keep going. But yeah, I'm good now. If you all are ready to keep rolling with some more topics, but
Let's do
I
it.
do
Back.
to go back. I do like talking about the AI and talking about List Perfectly and Vendoo. I think those things are important, especially if you're trying to up your game in the resale business. But we need to definitely have some more topics like that, because if I'm watching this, that's things I'm looking for to try to learn. But it's all about the learning curve.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that we've noticed about YouTube also. And it's something that, like, Frizzy and I need to get better at. People are looking for education. And there's YouTube channels right now that are blowing up, and you watch them and you're like, this is the most vanilla, boring, but they're learning, right? They're teaching, right? So they're talking about sell-through rates and why I picked this up and why I didn't pick this up. And here's brands. And so people are taking away the knowledge portion of it. So I think if you can be educational and entertaining, like that's kind of that perfect mix. You can't just necessarily be one or the other, but if you're going to be one or the other, it's got to be educational.
Well, that is all the time that we have today on the Finders Flippers Resale Podcast. Gentlemen, again, I'm looking forward to it, and we'll talk soon.
All right. See y'all later.
Yes.